Good morning. Um, just checking to make sure people are getting in here.
Yeah.
And they are. Awesome. Good morning to all of our Atlas Pro Plus contractors and happy Wednesday. What's up, John?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is our first time having you on a webinar, and we haven't seen our contractor base in probably a couple of weeks. So we miss you guys and so excited to have another Wednesday webinar. It's been so busy to be quarantined and people doing all kinds of, safety precautions and all the things. We've been swamped. How about you, John?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. And I know
Yeah,
we got to hang out a few weeks ago and it was super weird, I know.
it was so fun slash weird. It was like all the things, right? We
Right?
were together in Indy, which is where you are, and now I'm back in Atlanta. So we'll have to do that again soon.
Yeah, we do need to do that again. That was a lot of fun and it was awesome. I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are
Yeah,
amazing. So,
yeah. Well, Atlas Pro Contractors, good morning to you guys. So excited that you are here. I know there are a ton of people in the queue waiting to get in. If you can see me, hear me, that's awesome. We are on a different platform than we normally are. We normally are using GoToWebinar, and we are zoomed in now. So we're using Zoom. And good morning to all of our contractors that are live with us on Facebook. I'm excited to have you guys all here, and I'm excited to be with my buddy John Dye, who is going to be talking about supplementing and how to protect your profits when doing insurance work. So important to really make sure that you are protecting yourself as the rules have changed and the approach
yeah,
has
they are.
changed for a contractors, and so lots of things to be aware of, huh, John?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be aware of.
Yeah, in short.
Especially when you got hurricanes barreling down on us all over the
Man,
place. So,
yeah, we got something coming towards the Gulf. There's another Category 5 I saw this morning, headed towards Texas. So anyway, we'll get into all of that good stuff. But if you can hear us and see us, go ahead and pop something in the chat. Let us know you're here, where you're calling in from or dialing in from. If you're joining us from Facebook, good morning. Glad you're with us. Go ahead and pop something into the chat and say good morning. Glad to see you
let's see
guys.
here.
Hey, Andrew. Good morning from San Antonio. Corpus Christi, Texas is standing up, ready to get prepared for this storm coming in. Hey, Sabrina. Good morning. Matt from Omaha. Good morning. Hey, Sean from Fortitude. Glad you are with us. Listen, guys, as we about to jump into the webinar, I wanted to make you guys aware we are very busy. And Atlas is making sure that we are staying in front of you with all kind of tools and resources. And so, John, if you'll hit that next slide for me, want you all to check out the Atlas events page. This will keep you up to date on webinars for the coming months. We're also having all of our event partners that have upcoming events. Be sure to check them out. I just put that into the chat. And we'll also put the events page link into the chat and Facebook, but definitely want to make sure you guys are aware of what's coming up, what's coming down the pipeline. John, you're headed to RoofCon in October as well, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. We've got RoofCon's the next big event. I know that
Yeah,
there's a couple things coming up between now and then, but yeah, RoofCon's the big one.
yeah, RoofCon is a big one. And I
It's
know
gonna be
that they've been
nice.
working hard in Houston to get that going, and Atlas is really excited to be a sponsor this year. Also, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but John, you host the show every 2 weeks, or every twice a week rather,
Mhm.
on Facebook, which is the American Contractor Show.
Yeah, we do. So that's every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. We either go live or we put out a new episode. And then we also it's on YouTube, Facebook, podcast form,
Yeah,
iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. And yeah, try to do. We just did a really cool our first contractor showcase, which was a pretty cool episode where we spent we did a 20-minute episode about a contractor here in Indy and got to tour his
yeah,
facility and stuff. And Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and you guys are a major sponsor for that. So thank you guys for that.
Of course, we're excited about the American Contractor Show. If you have not checked it out, it's very it has the, I would say, the those same pulse as the Asphalt Life content that we put out every month does. Really focused on the contractor and how contractors should be things that you should be aware of as a roofing contractor right now. Insights, best practices, tips, tricks, all those good things. John, you guys are bringing it. So excited that we can partner with you guys on that. Then
Thank you.
also, if you want to hit the next slide, I think we're gonna. I want to talk a little bit about. Yo, I
Oh,
found this picture. What a throwback! What a
that is a
throwback photo.
throwback. Look at that. That was yeah, that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, I found that online. I thought I would surprise you with that one.
Thank you for that one.
Anyway, John has one of the most well-rounded backgrounds in the industry. He's managed roofing projects with a pioneer in third-party supplementing space. Of course, we all know John because he founded Art of the Supplement in 2018, but before that has a long history of roofing and has been generations of people in the roofing and construction business. He's been training contractors since 2018 and has consulted several top 100 roofing contractors in the industry. John is a family man. He has a beautiful wife there in Indy. He's highly regarded expert for supplementing, and we're so excited to have you on our monthly webinar today.
Well, thank you, and it's awesome to be here, and I'm really excited to share this, especially with all the derecho stuff that's going on out in the Midwest.
Yeah,
We've got all the hail all over the place, and now we've got hurricanes to deal with.
yeah,
Um, it obviously presents itself as a really big opportunity for a lot of contractors, but it's also a unique challenge when you're dealing with these situations because it's not retail work.
right.
And so it has to be handled a little bit differently and with a little bit of finesse. And so this is going to be fun to get to talk about all this stuff that hopefully brings a lot of value and helps contractors not just, you know, bring value, but really to protect their profits. Because, and I think this is the biggest reason why supplementing and what we do and what we do here at Balance and what, you know, we teach is so important is because it's a different type of sale. I mean, if you
Yeah,
think about a retail sale, you're going to walk into a situation, you're going to sign a contract with someone, and they're going to pay you X amount of dollars to replace their roof or repair or whatever, right? And you're going to do that job. You're going to get a check, and you're going to leave. It's going to take the whole sales cycle is going to take you what, a week maybe, if you know, maybe longer
right.
depending on your production schedule. That's really going to be the thing that's going to constitute anything. But you're
Mhm.
not waiting on checks. You're not having to meet adjusters. You're not having to go through all of this process that ends up taking what normally takes um, a week to do in a simple situation could end up taking 2 months to do.
Right.
And so it's got to be, you have to look at it from that point of view. And when you start to understand that and how insurance carriers bill differently than retail jobs bill, it's a lot of times has to do with the fact that you are putting out a lot more resources as a contractor and you're having to use your expertise, your knowledge, and really and not only that, but a lot of times you have to finance the job and do a lot of things that typically you don't have to do in a retail scenario because you're dealing with homeowners that have just gone through their roof's been destroyed by storms, the roof's been completely demolished, and now they're having to repair them. They're not paying out of pocket. They're not using financing. A lot of times they're using those insurance proceeds to finance those jobs.
Hmm.
And so it takes longer. So you should be compensated differently considering the amount of extra work that you're having to do that sometimes is 4 or 5 times as much work as you would do in a normal situation. And so that's where I think a lot of contractors get they get excited when they see the numbers behind insurance work. But even then, they don't realize that those numbers, while in a retail scenario may make sense for you,
Yeah.
you're not taking into account all the additional time and labor and expenses that you've got to go into to actually jump through all of the hoops that the carriers are going to make you go through. And
Right.
another thing to understand too is it's not that carriers are trying to be difficult a lot of times. A lot of people like to villainize the carriers and say, well, the carriers are just, you know, awful. They don't want to pay. They don't want to do that. It's not the case. It's a lot of times is that carriers have to, I mean, I'm coming, and this is coming from a former insurance adjuster. I was an adjuster for a while too. And so I understand their point of view is that they can't just I mean, these are massive multi-billion-dollar companies. They can't just be paying out random amounts of money to people just for fun. I mean, that constitutes fraud on their end. If they didn't, uh, if they didn't have the justification to pay a contractor the right way, there's no way that they're just going to just pay you large sums of money.
Right.
Just doesn't work that way. And so what it requires is that a contractor understand how to work within that environment so that they can get paid properly and quickly. And that's what we focus on at Art of the Supplement and at Balance, is helping contractors. We partner with them at Balance. We're the solution for contractors. We're like a third-party administration company.
Mm-hmm.
In Art of the Supplement, I focus on teaching contractors how to do this internally. And so today I want to really spend some time going through some of these steps, and I'm going to give you guys, trust me, what you'll get today. It's a small portion of what we teach during the supplement boot camps. And then we also have a master class that's way more advanced. That's like literally like I teach people how to write estimates and do things the right way, and how to, the actual practical knowledge. This is all going to be theory today, but it's going to be a small part of what we teach during the boot camps. And it's going to be, I don't know why this just did this.
Just keep going, maybe.
Anyways, okay, so there we go. Did we slip a slide in there that I didn't know about?
I don't know.
Okay, because that was on there too. So I was like, that just threw me off. Okay, so we're going to focus on some of the things that are going to be really important for you as a contractor when you're going through this process. And the things that, these are like the fundamentals. And if you get these fundamental things right, you're going to really set yourself up for success in the long run. And there's contractors that have been doing this for 20 years that still struggle with these fundamental things that are like the basic supplementing 101 here, and protecting your profits 101, because that's what supplementing really is. A lot of people think supplementing is a dirty word. It's really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about cost incurred. And we go through all this during the boot camp a little bit more thoroughly, but it's protecting your profits, because a carrier is going to pay, they want to pay as little as possible because they want to make as much money as possible, just like you want to make as much money as possible as a contractor, as a business. And so by you supplementing, you're protecting your profit, and you're kind of auditing their work, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few things that are typically overlooked, and I'm going to go ahead and knock right into this. And we're going to talk first about the secret weapon. And I always like to put this little picture of this guy out here, because, this guy's like the guru, right? He's really smart and wise. But the reason I put him out there is because a lot of times contractors are really good sales reps, but they're not really good at helping their homeowners out and their policyholders. And you got to realize, like, at the end of the day, the person that has the most authority and the most say when it comes to the claims process is people that are actually privy to the insurance contract. Okay, by what I mean is, if you understand how insurance works, it's a contract between two parties. One party says, I will take your money, you will pay us X amount of dollars, and we will, if something awful is to happen, pay you for that, right? That's how it works. Nowhere in that contract does it say we will pay your insurance or your contractor, and your contractor is now part of the contract. No, it's never in there. Contractors are not a part of the contract. In fact, contractors are a third party. So think about this for a second. An insurance company can promise you the moon. They can do anything, they can say anything they want to a contractor. And it means there's no repercussions if they don't follow through with what they say.
Right.
Now, if an insurance company says something that is questionable or promises something to a homeowner, now, and then they don't actually do what they say they're going to do or what they promise to do, now the carrier is potentially looking at bad faith. And they're not following the record, their actual law. And in fact, as an adjuster, there were times that I did things and I promised homeowners I was going to pay for things, and it went through as an independent adjuster. It went through my firm and got approved, and then the carrier went back and actually took that and said, "No, we're not going to replace your roof. We're going to repair it, Miss Jones." And Miss Jones decided to lawyer up and hire an attorney and sue that insurance company because the carrier decided not to replace their roof when I, as the independent adjuster, promised them that their roof was going to get replaced, which, by the way, as an independent adjuster, that was when I was green, and I really shouldn't have. I should have been a little bit more tactful with my words, and you'll notice that that when there's adjusters that are very that have been around for a long time, they're never going to promise something like that. But I did. The insurance carrier, once they got sued, they had to subpoena me. And when they subpoenaed me, they realized you promised it. They turned around and had to pay it. And so at the end of the day, because my word was gold as an insurance adjuster, carriers can't renege themselves from what is said. So the reason I always say this is because a lot of times contractors like to take their homeowner, and instead of using, or not using the homeowner, but you know what I mean, like instead of utilizing that resource and keeping the homeowner involved in the
Right.
process,
Mm-hmm.
they set the homeowner over here and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and this is how I used to sell too, by the way. In 2009, 2008, when I was selling roofs back then, when I was doing storm damage work as a sales rep, that's how I sold homeowners. I told them, look, I'm going to represent you in this process. I'm going to work on your behalf. I'm going to do this, this, and this for you.
Right.
You guys can sit back and drink lemonade and watch Maury for all I care, right? That's how I sold. And that's how a lot of contractors still sell to this day. And it's not the right way to do this. You
because
need to
really
bring
the
them
homeowner is your is the secret weapon of keeping them in the loop and having them fight to make sure you're compensated for the work that you're doing.
Well, explaining to them the whole process,
Mm-hmm.
giving them all the information, I think is super key and vital to this. A lot of homeowners don't, or a lot of contractors don't spend that extra time to explain. Like I go down nowadays, like if I go out and sell a roof today, I'm going to explain to a homeowner everything about this process and give them resources so that they understand what appraisal is. They understand what PAs do. They understand what, how important it is that we get paid OMP, all this stuff, so that I want them to understand all these little all the little things that are important to us, because they understand, hey, if I don't get OMP, there's a good chance that our business will go out of business.
Yeah.
Because we're not getting paid enough money to cover our overhead and make profit and stay in business for years to come, which is a bad thing for you, Mr. Homeowner or Miss Homeowner, because now who's going to actually warranty your roof if we're not around? And so I want them to understand it. And the reason I want them to understand it, and this is why I have this little guy out here on the side of a mountain, right? This is the guru. I know I have friends that go to like Tibet and they go to South America and they go all over the place so that they can find a guru, right? They want to like find this guy that's going to like give them the keys to their life and explain things to them, right? And they'll climb a mountain on their hands and knees, covered in, alcohol, naked over glass, to find this guy because he's like got all the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But people don't do that for sales reps. No one's going to climb a mountain on their hands and knees, covered in alcohol, naked over glass, to talk to a really, really good sales rep, but they will for a guru. And I tell you, as contractors, your most valuable asset when you're training your sales reps, if you're a sales rep, your best thing that you can do is become as knowledgeable as possible and share as much of that as possible with your homeowner, because now you've become their guru. You've become their valued source of information, and they trust you, and they're going to tell all their friends about their guru that they found. They're never going to tell all their friends that I just got sold this amazing roof. But they're going to tell all their friends, dude, they helped us through this process like no one else. They explained everything to us. They kept us in the loop. They had these awesome tools that helped us see what was going on. Yeah. And we were a part of this whole process. And that determines a lot of times your success or your failure, because I've seen where adjusters and insurance carriers like to pin the homeowner against their contractor. Right. The second the contractor's over here isolating himself and trying to fight for things, or trying to sending invoices in and doing and talking to the insurance company over here, the carrier's over here, the adjuster's like, hey, Mr. Jones, I got 4 other contractors that'll do this job for less. Right. I've got this other thing. Do you want us to bring them in too? And the homeowner's like, wait a second, my contractor's trying to rip you off. And the insurance companies have spent billions and billions of dollars marketing to these policyholders that they're in good hands, that this is your neighbor. This is, they're on your side, right? You have such a disadvantage as a contractor because you're going into this situation. And if you're thinking that you're going to be able to convince a homeowner, a policyholder, that their insurance company is crooked or corrupt or not doing things the right way or trying to rip them off.
Yep.
They've spent the money to convince them otherwise already.
Yeah. We had a comment in here that said from Corey Novak that says never accept the first number from insurance supplements, then arbitration if needed. Never discount your quality, which I think really goes back to being able to sustain a business, but that also speaks to communication, right? When you
Right.
have the homeowner as an asset, that you've built that trust is another word to say that, right?
Right.
With the homeowner, you can go so much further and they will literally fight for you to the insurance company to make sure you're fairly compensated.
And that fight is a different fight than your fight.
Yep.
Once the homeowner says, wait a second, why aren't you guys doing this? Where in my policy does it say that we don't owe for O&P? Where in the policy does it say that the waste factor is what you arbitrarily say in your guidelines? Is
Yep.
it here we have this engineered waste report that says my waste is 22.6%, but yet you're only paying us 15% and including ridge cap and starter. How is that fair? Because that's the kind of stuff that we're fighting against. As an adjuster, I had a set of guidelines that I had to abide by. And if those guidelines stated that, waste is 12% plus ridge cap and starter, as a field adjuster, that's what I had to write. I
Right.
wasn't allowed to write for the correct waste. Okay. It was up to the contractor to prove his point otherwise.
Right.
Okay. And that's the way the burden of proof falls on you as a contractor, not to just explain it to them, but explain it to them in a way that they understand it. That's the kicker. A lot of contractors bang their head against the wall and think, why in the world is this insurance company not paying for this? It's because you haven't explained it to them the right way. When you show it to them in a way that they can justify it, they're going to pay. They don't care. I mean, it's not that adjuster's money. It's not coming out of his paycheck. He just doesn't want to get yelled at by his 12 managers above him.
Right.
Okay. When you come in and you have all the justification, everything lined up in the right way, they're going to pay. But I want to start this. I want to give you guys this first tool. And this is one of the most valuable parts. If you do this at the beginning right, you set your homeowner up the right way, everything else that you do will be so much smoother. But this is the first thing. This is the most important part. This is the secret weapon. This is what will get you the most amount this is what will get you the most amount of, I'm trying to think. I don't really want to say it's the most amount of money, but it'll get you paid the most fairly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the first thing that I always do is I tell a homeowner, hey, look, right after I meet them, do their inspection, show them their roof, show them the damage. I say, it was a pleasure meeting you. I'm going to send you an email tonight. Okay. And then I'm going to give you some instructions. This is imperative. If you want to work with me, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this email, copy and paste it, and send it to the carrier. I'll give you all the instructions in the email. Okay. And that's how I leave the inspection. Okay. I go home. I write them an email, tell them, hey, it was nice meeting you. It was a pleasure. This, that, and the other. I find out who their carrier is. If they have a claim number, I get that right away. Cool. Like, here's the deal. I'm going to copy and paste everything that's below, and I'll make it a different color and send it to this email address. And I'll tell them where to send it, but it has to come from them. Okay. And this is what this email says. Okay. It says, and then they copy and paste and send this to the carrier. It says, to whom it may concern, this letter is to inform you that I've hired name a contractor as my general contractor to complete the repairs on my property. I have selected this general contractor as they will be able to provide me an additional layer of security, peace of mind, and supervision over the work of my property. Instead of my having to rely solely on the word of a roofing company, they have agreed to coordinate the work between the various trades to minimize my inconvenience throughout this entire process. By using a general contractor, I'm able to avoid my own wasted time and effort in having to research specialty trade contractors, I should say qualify them, coordinate them to show up and bid the repairs, determine whether or not they can do the work for the offered settlement prices, are sure they pull the appropriate permits, schedule the different work crews around each other, and ensure that they show up and perform the work, and finally, ensure that their work was done in an acceptable workmanship manner according to building codes. Working with a general contractor saves me from the hassle and worry of having multiple specialty trade contractors, all asking for down payments, and then not doing the work they were hired to do. My general contractor informed me they would bid the work using Xactimate pricing, including a 10% allowance for general contractor overhead as well as a 10% allowance for general contractor profit. I was informed that Xactimate is the leading insurance industry pricing database, and we understand our insurance premiums of the RCV policy cover the additional expense of a general contractor. Thus, my only out-of-pocket expense is the deductible and or any additional work I choose to perform outside the agreed scope. I've chosen to name a contractor to do this work, as I do not believe that I can afford the time to schedule all this work on my own, supervise the crews, and inspect that the work is completed in a good workmanship manner. Please let me know in writing if this is unacceptable, because my right to rescind the contract when name a contractor expires in 3 days. It is agreed that name a contractor is empowered to contact my insurance carrier and to meet with their representative in order to determine and agree the amount of damage, the scope of repairs, and the cost of repairs or replacement of the damage to the property listed above. Sincerely, so-and-so. And yes, you will get this email to you. I'll have a QR code that you can scan, and I'll send you all this stuff. So in a Word doc. So this letter, though, this is what I have the homeowner send to the carrier. Okay, so this is coming from the policyholder to the carrier. Okay, this is a huge letter right here, and this is a huge deal. Think about what I just said. If this is coming from the homeowner, from the policyholder, and they're informing the carrier, we've chosen this contractor, because I know a lot of contractors love to have a contractor selection agreement, or they like some sort of deal that they make the homeowner sign, and now they turn that in with their supplement. Oh, the homeowner signed this. That doesn't mean anything, okay? But when they get this letter in an email form from the policyholder to the carrier, and it goes into the file, now the carrier, and this is where it gets really interesting. If you look at the second to last paragraph here, please let me go backwards. Please let me know in writing if this is unacceptable, because my right to rescind the contract expires in 3 days. So what does that tell the insurance company at that point? If the carrier decides not to respond to this letter, which most of them don't, and so their lack of response at that point is what? It's an acceptance of the letter, right? They're saying, we got it. We're cool with it. There's nothing wrong with this because we didn't respond in writing that we have an issue with it. So when you go in there and you say, well, hold on a second, we need to get our extra $4,000 in O&P here. And they're like, oh, well, we don't know O&P on this claim for this and this and this. And you're like, wait a second. I have a letter that, because I have the homeowner CC me on this. And I bring this back up to the carrier and I say, wait a second. We have this letter in our file that the homeowner sent to you guys. And I've had this come up in appraisal before as an appraiser, where contractors that use this letter, we bring it up and we say, wait a second, the homeowner sent this to the carrier already. And the carrier comes back to the carrier's appraiser comes back and said, yeah, we have this in the file. As soon as they acknowledge that's in the file and we have a copy of it, there's no dispute as far as O&P goes, because at that point it's like, why didn't you guys say something at that point when you got the letter?
Right.
And so this is a really, really powerful tool. And you got to think that a lot of contractors are scared of this. They're scared to have their homeowners send this letter, right? They're scared that a policyholder is going to do this. Why would a contractor be scared of that? Or why would a homeowner, let me put it this way, why would a homeowner not send this letter? And I'm going to ask that question to everyone that's watching. If you have a homeowner that you're working with, you give them this letter and they say they're not comfortable sending that letter, why would a homeowner not be comfortable sending this letter? Let's see if anyone has a good answer about this. And here's the reality. And when I ask this question a lot of times, and I always get the funniest answers from contractors, but they're like, usually the answer is because, well, maybe if a homeowner's thinking, I don't want to send this letter, that means that they're probably up to wanting to profit off the claim. They don't want to pay their deductible. They're trying to hold money.
Yep.
Dan, where you're right. That tells me everything I need to know about that homeowner. So what did I just do as a contractor by having the homeowner do this? I've just qualified them, right? I just learned a lot about that homeowner really quickly by having them do something. And this is what I tell them, if you're not willing to do it, let's talk about it. Yeah. But I want to know why. And this tells me really quickly what their true intentions are. And now I can decide, do I really want to work with this homeowner? And how many times have you pushed a deal through as a contractor only to come out on the back end that they didn't pay your supplement. They were withholding money. They were trying to profit off the claim. They didn't want to pay their deductible. They didn't want to do all that stuff. And you end up finding out because contractors get, like, sales reps, especially, they get so, like, it's almost like they fall in love with the deal so quickly. They're just like, I got to get this deal through. I got to make it happen. And then they don't realize, like, this deal could end up costing you money if it's not the right deal for you.
Right.
If that homeowner's too anxious, or they're not willing to do something like this, they can cost you money. And usually we find out way too late. If you can put this little barrier up, this little thing that they have to do, they have to complete this step in order to work with you, it tells you a lot about what a homeowner's usually, what their true intentions are, and what they're going to do for you as a contractor, or what they're not going to do for you as a contractor. And it'll save you a lot of time and hassle. And there's a good friend of mine. I think you guys have had Mike Code before, but Mike always says, race to your no.
Yeah.
And it's something I learned from him years ago, and I've always kept it in the back of my mind. Race to your no. Find out what those problems are. Qualify your homeowners. Get to that as quickly as possible. The faster you can get to your no, the quicker you can move on, right? The less time you're going to waste. I would rather find out right at the beginning that this homeowner is not the right fit for me, and move on to another homeowner that's a better fit for us, that's actually going to do things the right way, that wants to be a good partnership, that cares about me just as much as I care about you, and move on to that really quickly. And so that's a big thing that it's a big reason why this letter is really important as well. It's not just about supplementing at this point. Now you're really testing the homeowner to find out what their true intentions are. And so I always say this is the first step. And if you do this, this is way more powerful than any contractor selection agreement, a million times over. Because a contractor selection agreement, we all know, people use this as a way to solidify your homeowner. Look, if your homeowner is willing to tell the insurance company, this is my contractor, this is who we picked, here's what I expect you guys to do with them, here's how I expect you guys to handle them, I expect you to pay them properly, as we do have the right type of coverage for that. That's way more powerful than anything that you can have on paper written up that that's a templated form that they sign. Okay. So I'll get this to you guys. I'll get this to everyone today. At the end of this, there'll be a QR code. You can scan that, and you guys will get this in your email for free. So, okay, I'm gonna move on. Is that cool?
Yep.
Any questions about this so far?
Lots of comments. Usually customers want to force the contractor to pay. We already talked about, the reason why, trying to hold money, also, establishing trust with the homeowner. So lots of good feedback in there, John.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this will be available to you guys. Make sure to get this, and this will really help you in the future. So, all right, I'm going to move on. I want to talk about documentation. And before I move on to the next slide, though, I want to actually talk a little bit about some of the things. Now, I'm going to ask everyone this. When you guys are, because this is there's a lot of other stuff we talk about too, but I want to talk about this specifically today because I know we only have a few minutes. But when it comes to taking photos of jobs and documenting your jobs, on average, and people, I want to hear people's responses to this, but on average, how many photos are you taking per job? If you were to have on an average, you think you take 20, 30, 40, 100 photos? How many photos are you guys taking per job when you're doing your documentation as a contractor on an insurance job? Matt said at the beginning we take around 80 to 120 depending on the size and scope of work. Andrew Johnson said depends on the job. Jennifer Yates says 20 to 30. Brad Ireland 20 to 30. Yeah, it's all over the place. My answer to this is always take more. 50, yeah. I see 50 showed up. I always say take more. Document. Take as many photos. This, Matt, you said 80 to 120. In all reality, that's around the number that you should be taking. For those of you that are doing 20 to 30, 50 photos, a lot of people wonder how in the world are you getting to 80 to 120 photos, and why in the world are you getting to that many photos?
Yeah.
So I want to show you guys something first. This is the first thing that I always give to contractors when they, especially when I was doing a lot of, when I was starting out, when I did third-party supplementing for contractors all over the country, this was the biggest issue that I had was photos. I couldn't get enough of them, and I always seemed to have, I was always missing stuff. So we had this form that we use, and it's It's a fulfillment checklist, right? So it's got a bunch of it's basically a checklist of photos, and I use this for training purposes, and I encourage you guys to have this. I'll give this to you as well in a PDF today. You can put your logo on it, whatever else. But it's got it basically gives you all of the photos that you should be taking per job. So just kind of walks you right down the list: house numbers, front elevations, front of the house, left elevation, around all the different penetrations, the rear, the right, soffit, siding, then all the photos you should be taking on the ladder while you're standing on the ladder, measuring the gutters, how the gutters interact with the roof, gutter screens, what type of gutters you have, shingle layer, space decking, drip edge, all these things that the shingle grade isn't as important anymore. You can tell how old this sheet is. A lot of people don't use Hague keys anymore. Adjusters don't even have to use them anymore. Roof pitches, though, overhangs, soffit vents, and then all the photos you should take on the roof and, document the whole property. And I always tell people, look, there's a lot of reasons why you want to document. Obviously, we're talking about supplementing today. You want to protect your profit, so you want to document everything on there. You want to you want to take photos for legal purposes. How many times has something happened on the job that you've been accused of, and you didn't have the right documentation? You ended up having to pay for concrete, or you ended up having to pay for. I mean, I had a supplier one time drop one of his outriggers out in the driveway and busted the driveway up. We've had things happen, and there's sometimes where you show up and the job is it's clearly not something you did. You may have been accused of something that didn't necessarily happen. And so you want to have that documentation for those purposes. Supplementing is huge. And there's another reason too, though. And before I get to this other reason, though, I want to say this. If you have problems with, and this is common, okay, sales reps are typically not really good at taking photos, especially sales reps that are doing high volume. I was in Jackson, Mississippi a couple years ago. There was a sales rep there that at a residential roofing company in Jackson, Mississippi, and this dude was doing $4 million a year in sales. $4 million in Jackson, Mississippi, one of the hardest to get approvals and one of the hardest Xactimate areas as far as numbers goes. And he's doing $4 million a year. Guess what? He really wasn't that good at. He wasn't really good at taking photos. He was good at selling, but he was bad photo taker, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay though. And I always tell contractors, if this is something you guys struggle with, hire someone to just take photos.
Mm-hmm.
It is well worth it. Hire a fulfillment person, make it part of their job. You can hire someone retired, or you can hire a college student, or someone in whatever, an intern that is just out there taking photos of jobs. And it is so important for your company. There's another reason though why that photos are really important. And this is the $1 million reason. If you are a contractor, that if you own your own company today, you're the business owner, listen really closely here for a second, because I want you to think about this for a minute. But this is the $1 million reason. If you think about Amazon for a second, think about Google for a second. If I hop on my Amazon account right now and I start scrolling through it, I'm going to find a lot of stuff that I didn't really know I needed, but Amazon knows that I need it.
Right.
Facebook's going to feed me ads from websites I visited, from different products I'm looking at, or competitors from other websites that I visited, right? If I was looking for luggage a year ago, I was seeing all the luggage ads out there,
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of them and their smart way of marketing, right? Well, the one area which Google and Amazon are trying really, really hard to get into this with Nest and with Alexa and Ring and all this stuff is home repairs, which, by the way, if you're not signed up with Amazon for home repairs or listed as an Amazon contractor, you need to do that right now. Like, as soon as this is done, go sign up for Amazon, because it's the wave of the future, and we can get into a whole discussion about this. But for right now, I'm not going to get into that. But Amazon wishes they can get into home repairs, right? They wish they can tell when people's windows are going to be bad, or they wish they can tell when someone needs new siding, or when someone needs a new driveway seal, because that's important data for them. They want to market that. But the problem is they can't see people's siding. They can't see the windows. They can't see the driveways. They can't see those things in a way that they can analyze what condition they're in. but you can. Okay. So think about your roofing company for a minute. You're a construction company, right? You're a contractor. If you start taking all these photos, compiling them, I saw someone said company cam here in a second ago. I love company cam. You take all this information, you put it together into you have all these photos, and you can take a job and you can analyze it. You can say, hey, this job's going to need windows in the next 3 years. These windows are getting really old. Or, hey, you know what? This customer's AC unit is really, really old. Okay, I may not do AC units, but if I know that customer's AC unit is really old, I need to notate that somewhere. And Company Cam's a great place to do it because you can do hashtags. And so you can tag a job AC 2022, and in 2022, open up all the jobs that have AC 2022. And now you've got a whole new stream of income that you could potentially tap into if you market to them with by partnering with an AC company or a window company or whatever else. So that's why we say take as many photos as you can and document those jobs as much as you can, because you have a very unique opportunity. If you go and sell your company in 3 years and you have a great name, great reputation, a customer list, and not just that, but a customer list, and it's compiled in a way that you can cross market to them a million other ways, the value of your company just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Okay. So take these photos. I always tell you, take as many as you can, spend as much time as you can organizing them, putting them in a CRM, putting them in Company Cam, do all that stuff so that you can compile them in a way that you can quickly create these segments and shoot stuff out to them in the future. And obviously that's not supplement related, so I'm going to move on. But it's really important for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to show you guys some photos real quick. And this is a training thing that I do quite often. Okay. And these are actual photos that I got from contractors. Okay. These contractors sent me this stuff. They said, hey, I need you to supplement for this. Okay. And rather than send me like several photos, they sent me this one photo, right? So this is one of them that I got. I got this photo. He said, supplement for this. And I'm like, what am I supplementing for exactly? He's like, can't you tell? And I'm like, no. And how am I going, if I can't tell and I'm the supplementer, what do you think an adjuster's thinking? So if I send this photo to some adjuster that's a desk adjuster that didn't go on the property, and I say, hey, we need a supplement for this, what am I supplementing for? I mean, is the soffit over top of the siding? Is that the problem? Is there watermarks here? Like, what's the deal here? I don't know what side of the house it's on. I don't know how much of it's like this. There's so many more questions than answers based on this one photo. Okay, this is where you train your sales reps to take multiple photos. Now Company Cam's doing video. I think video is huge. We had a big discussion about it during our masterclass yesterday about video and how to properly send video to carriers. And so anyways, so video in photos and telling the story is so important. If you wanted to get all this, if we were talking about the siding here in the soffit, I need to see a photo of this overview of all the siding. I need to get the close-ups. I need to get what sides of the house are we looking at, and does each side of the house have this? I need to have a lot of information. Those photos have to tell a story. They have to be able to explain exactly what's going on and what the issue is and why they should pay you for it. Because if an adjuster gets this one photo, if I was the adjuster, I'd be like, if I wrote a check for this right now, I'd get in trouble because I don't know what's going on. In fact, there was we had a former senior file reviewer. He's now a PA here in Indiana. Came to one of my boot camps, the last live boot camp that I had in our office. He came and was hanging out with us, and he told me, so he helped write like a lot of the guidelines for adjusters back in the 90s. He said one time he remembers, like in the early 2000s, when digital photos started to come through, they started to notice this one photo because he happened to notice there was like a spider web in the corner. And this contractor had been sending the same photo on multiple jobs. And they counted like 40 jobs where they had the photo with the spider web in the corner. And they were like, holy cow, like this is insane that we didn't realize it. And they stopped counting at 40, but that's the kind of stuff that adjusters are dealing with day in and day out. I mean, think about it. How many contractors are sending in information, and how often is that information not adequate enough or not good enough? That's the real question. I mean, if you're dealing with that, go the extra mile. Be that contractor that gives them so much information that you've drowned them in documentation that it's like in the homeowner season, the homeowner's like, this is a no-brainer, that they have to concede and be like, okay, you're right. You got us. You out documented us. And that's really the key.
Right.
Out documenting adjusters is really the key to getting things paid for and getting things paid for properly, is giving them enough justification. John Parento asked, what is wrong with the soffit? So I don't remember this exact claim, but I'm assuming that the soffit was over top of the siding. So if you're going to replace the siding, you got to detach and reset the soffit as well, or replace it. And I think that's what he was trying to tell me, but he didn't send me enough information. All he sent me was this one photo to show that the soffit was sitting over top of the siding at this one spot in the house. And that's all I could tell from that. So let me move on. I'm gonna give you guys another one here. So this is another photo. Okay. I actually appreciate this photo in some ways because it has, there's some, which by the way, I'm looking at my screen here. There's dents in the gutters, right? They chalked it. I could tell that the stuff's chalked, so it looks good, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much gutter line there is on this part of the house. Is all the gutter like this? Is this the right house? I don't know. You know, there's so many questions here. Then there's more questions than there are answers at the end of the day. Yeah, we know that the gutter's damaged, but how much of it's damaged? Where is it at? Is it the right house? All those questions have to be answered. Okay. Let me move on to the next one here. This is another photo. This is actually a really good photo. You should have photos like this on every one of your jobs. Elevation photos are hugely important. You can get a ton of information off this photo. You know you're looking at the right house. You've got some damage up here to some of these vents maybe. Maybe the homeowner is going to tell you that you cracked their driveway. Wait a second. That driveway is already cracked, Miss Jones. What are you talking about? We didn't make those cracks in your driveway. There's grass growing out of it, and we took these photos before we even got there. Maybe Miss Jones is calling you because someone broke her basketball goal. You go back and you look, oh crap, we sure did break your basketball goal, Miss Jones. How do you want us to take care of this? Do you want us to get you a new one? Do you want us to write you a check? What's the deal here? Because it was definitely good before we got there. There's a lot of information that someone can draw from this photo. And I always tell people, you got to get your photos right. Take as many as you can. Take photos often. Someone mentioned company cam. Please use company cam.
Yeah.
I will say
one other question too, John, came in from Andrew Johnson. He says, why will they pay for gutters dented, but they have a cosmetic clause for metal policies?
Okay, so first off, the cosmetic clause, you're going to have to do some research on. There's a couple ways to do it. Number one, cosmetic damage is a weird clause that it's still damaged. And the other way to do it though too is the real key to look at is if it's a dent, you got to look at what's the protecting surface. So a lot of times when metal gets dented, it's not a cosmetic issue. It's actually a mechanical issue in terms of, and this is where you got to get like the microscopic cameras that can show the cracks in the paint, because that's paint can't handle a dent. Okay, metal can handle a dent, and it's technically not a mechanical issue. But the problem is, if you can show with that microscopic camera that no, it's not just the paint that's dented, it's actually the cracks. There's cracks in the paint. Now you've got a mechanical issue because that paint is there to protect the metal from oxidation. So now you've just taken something that is designed to last for 30, 40 years as a protective coating, and it's now broken. So you've got something that's going to start rusting and oxidating really, really quickly. But you got to be able to show those dents a lot of times and the cracks in the paint and show the homeowner, hey, look, this is really what's going on with your roof. It may not be it may not be a mechanical issue in terms of the actual metal itself, but your paint is broken, and that's your protective coating that's there to protect that metal from future oxidation. So that's how we handle that a lot of times.
Great.
So, but I always tell people, make sure company cam is such a great option. I know you guys have a great deal with Atlas and company cam. Take advantage of that deal, because you will find that the volume of photos will increase, the quality of photos will increase. You'll be able to share that photo with your homeowner. So it goes back to the communication thing. If you're able to keep them in the loop and they're able to see what's going on their roof, now you've got a whole nother you've got another way that the homeowner's going to fight with you, and not just be on the sidelines, brought in when the carriers decide that they should be brought in, but keeping them transparently through the whole process. Company Cam is one of the best ways to do that, by sharing that one little link to be able to share that timeline with them throughout the day or throughout the whole project. So I always recommend that for sure.
Yeah.
So here's some tips for photos. Ready? Have a plan. Don't just go into a house and just be like, hey, we're just going to take some photos. No, have an actual plan of what you're going to take photos of. Use a fulfillment sheet. Take lots of photos, but make sure you know and you train on how to take good photos. Always ask yourself before you submit something to a carrier, can someone with no knowledge of the property understand what I'm asking for based on this photo?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's who's looking at it. You're not, a lot of times you're not sending it to the field adjuster, because field adjusters typically hand files off to the desk adjusters, to the inside adjusters. Those inside adjusters are going to be the ones that are going to be reviewing that and approving that. They have higher authority limits. That's their job as desk adjusters. And realize, like, they're getting a lot of crap photos from contractors all day long. They're getting stuff like what I just showed you from all kinds of contractors that are asking them to pay for stuff. Okay, so they're frustrated in that regard, and that may be a lot of times where contractors can help those and build that rapport up early on, is by giving them so much information that it makes their job so much easier. But make sure that they can see and they understand what that photo is. So stand back, take the photo, then take your close-ups. Tell the story in a clean, concise manner, and I always say organize your photos. Either use a CRM or use Company Cam, but organize them in a way that you can research and get more information in the future about those photos as well. So that's by the way, you can scan this. This is our QR code. I'll also put the link here in the comments for where this QR code goes. But you fill out this form. I'll get you guys all of the information that we went over today, the fulfillment sheet. You'll get an email with all that stuff like within minutes. Check your spam though. Sometimes it goes into spam for some reason, but
we'll share the link as well when we send out the follow-up.
Perfect.
We blast out. We'll make sure we share the QR code and the link so that you guys can get access to it. And then so let's just, if you have any questions.
I want to answer some questions.
5 more minutes.
Yeah, I know we've got a couple minutes left. I have a lot more stuff I'd love to talk about, but we only got a few minutes here. Just so you guys know, we do have a boot camp coming up a week from today. So if you guys are interested in that, actually, I'm going to give you guys a link to this because I have a special deal just for Atlas people. If you do want to go to the boot camp, you can, if you go to learntosupplement.com/Atlas, it's a special rate. It gives you I think it's like a $50 discount on it. So,
yep.
But it's 4 hours.
In the chat on Facebook as well for all our Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
That are checking that out. Yep. Any questions for John as we are wrapping up?
Yeah, there's two things here. So that's the boot camp sign up, and then this is the resources. So, but yeah, I would love to answer some questions and hopefully give you guys some information. I kind of feel like I rushed, but that's because I wanted to make sure we got through all of this information, which is like the baseline. If you can get these parts right, you will make your entire, even if you're doing it in-house or you're using a company like Balance, SFY, any of the supplement firms, they're going to appreciate you so much more if you have this stuff done.
Yeah.
To scan that, you can literally just put your phone up to it, put your phone camera to that. If you're on a computer, that's why I put the link in there as well. But if you put your phone camera up, it'll actually take you to that website.
Yep. So you don't have to download or install anything. All you do is open up your camera, like you're taking a picture of it, and it'll go straight to the website.
Yeah, it'll just have a little pop down that'll show up. It'll take you right to that website.
Some of the questions on the tech side, John. Andrew Johnson asked about the camera that you were referencing that actually identifies.
Oh, the microscopic camera. Yeah. Let me see if I can find one real quick.
Yep. And then had a lot of really good comments on Facebook about taking photos, making sure that you have enough, and always, the answer is take more, right? Being around, making sure that you have that at least 100 to 130 photos in there. And I think the documentation of having a walkthrough, make that a part of your sales process when you're training your guys on company cam. Also include some sort of template that gives them the walkthrough of exactly what they need to be thinking about. Also, we will be sending out a follow-up within the next 24 hours for all of our registered attendees. So you will get the live recording of John's session today, as well as the link to scan the QR code so that you can have access to these resources that he mentioned in here. So awesome. Any other questions? We hit some tech stuff.
Yeah, I saw there's some stuff over here. I didn't realize this is where there's a Q&A going on too.
Yeah. Multiple question incoming.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on here. So
yeah. Yep, we got through those, I think. But yeah. Well, John, thanks so much. Let's take a second because I know that we had initially inadvertently had the slide about the American Contractor Show. You recently had Lauren Carlson on, who is our marketing manager for marketing communications manager here at Atlas. And you guys talked about, do distributors, should they be, reviewed as partners? And you guys had some really interesting insight in that.
For what? I'm sorry. What was the question again, Tiara? I'm sorry. I was trying to find this microscopic camera here.
Oh, you're looking for cameras. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions, I was just saying that some of the feedback, we got some really good feedback from the recent American Contractor Show you did with Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
On how you should consider your manufacturer partner as an actual partner in helping you build your business. And so you guys had some interesting dialogue.
Yeah, we had a lot of good dialogue about that. And I think that's it's kind of funny how many emails we get from stuff. But it's really one of those things that a lot of contractors a lot of times view their manufacturers as just like, hey, we're going to go with this manufacturer because they're going to pay us X amount in rebates, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And they don't understand, like, hey, a lot of times it's not even the real value is in the partnership.
Right.
And by partnership, I mean like the assistance to actually help you grow your business and scale and give you guys the most resources that are going to be beneficial to your business. And you guys have, manufacturers have such a great view of the industry that's really unique. And that's the coolest part about it is they're giving you guys insight that you a lot of times can't see. See, when we're working in our businesses, we're so focused on our business and what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve that we're missing a lot of the stuff that's going on around in the industry. This is why these like events like RoofCon and Wind to Storm and IRE are so important to go to, because it gives you, and this is something I've learned recently. I just started going to these events in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it changes your entire perspective of what's really going on in the industry and gives you a lot of insight and foresight to what's going on in the future.
Right.
And manufacturers, you guys are developing products. You guys are spending millions of dollars on research and development and figuring things out. And contractors need to realize like that information is so valuable.
Well, too, I think there's so much value in actually having somebody that can bring you resources,
Right.
not necessarily looking for to a specific thing or a specific sale or a specific service, but has a pool of resources that you can say, yeah, I want to try this out, or yes, I would like a free trial, or what have you. And so I know within the Atlas Pro portal, we have tons and tons of partner solutions between Sumo Quote, Company Cam, Art of the Supplement, Balance is on there. And so between all of our partner resources as a manufacturer, like you're saying, we have a pool, a suite of tools that literally the contractor can go log into their account and have a whole suite of tools right there at their fingertips that have already kind of been vetted and are going to give them their best foot forward. So so much value in that. So John, tell people how they can get in touch with you and follow up with you outside of scanning. If they're having scan problems or can't figure out how to get the camera on, how can people follow up?
We got a Facebook group, Art of the Supplement Nation. that's a really good resource. We try to answer as many questions as we can in there. I spend time in there a lot. Try to go live in there. I'm gonna try to do it like once a week. We've been slacking a little bit. We've been slammed, but we're trying to do as many of these as we can with that group. We do our boot camps. The master class has become really, really popular, but that's really for like advanced, like if you are like a supplementer in-house and you want to learn how to work volume the way we do, it's a 4-week program. Like we will train your people. Like I had someone, this guy just came in this last session. We're doing this is our last week. So tomorrow they're taking their final exam and they become a certified claims masters.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we had one guy in there this last time. I want to see if I can get him to go live with me at one point, but he's never touched a supplement, never written an estimate, didn't know how to use Xactimate. He was using the demo version of Xactimate. So one of the assignment, we do like practice assignments where I actually give them like claims to work on, and then they do live assignments. He did his live assignment, got like $4,000 or $5,000 in his supplement using the Xactimate demo version, which has like all this watermark stuff on it, no real price list, but just the way he presented it and did it, he was like, dude, he's like, this is insane. And it was like $8,000 to $12,000 claim. Like it was not like we're not talking like a $30,000 to $34,000. It was 8 to 12. And so it was pretty cool to watch that. And that's the kind of stuff that we like to do. I've seen, most of the time they go through this and they don't realize that they've developed some bad habits over the years, and they correct it. And it makes a big difference in how quickly they get paid. And I bring in people from Balance. We have 40 people that work here, and we have all these different departments. I bring in estimators. I bring in supplementers, and they talk about how they do it. And they've worked on thousands of claims. I mean, we had one girl, our main supplementer here, she's done over the course of 3 or 4 years, $14 million in increases. So that's actual supplement money that's gone through her files. That's like 5,000 or 6,000 claims essentially. So it's pretty crazy. I want to answer this last question from John, because this is a good question. And he says, are homeowners penalized if they make a claim and do not have damage? Yes and no. Okay. So a claim's a claim, regardless of damage or no damage, what the claim is for. A claim is a claim. Now, there are certain claims that hold more weight than other claims when it comes to rating policyholders and how their rates go. So essentially, like a hail claim is an act of God claim. So by law, like in most areas, you're not supposed to, as a carrier, you're not supposed to raise the rates on those individual claim holders that file claims based on act of God claims. They're supposed to rate them in the entire pool, which is a segment of customers. So that's why a lot of homeowners, whether they file a claim or not, if they do have damage, their rates are still going to go up, okay? Because it's just part of the risk assessment. But if you go to a house, you inspect the house, you find that the damage is marginal or not really existent, yeah, tell the homeowner they don't have damage. Don't try to convince them to file a claim and just take a chance at it, because that potentially could cause them issues if they come out. Now, if a homeowner calls and says, look, we have, and this is also really important. Like, I don't tell homeowners to say, hey, we file a claim for hail. I tell them, well, we file a claim for storm damage. We had a big storm. I'm scared my house has damage. Will you guys come out and look at it? That's usually treated a little bit differently, but it's still a potential claim. And it's up to the carrier to decide how they want to handle that. I always try to make sure, like, hey, if there really is marginal damage, or they really didn't have that much damage on their house, but if there is damage, there's damage, period. Okay. Right. Make sure that they file a claim. But if there's no damage on it and literally it's a clean roof, like there's nothing there, you got no dents, you've got nothing and you've done a really thorough inspection, then I mean, be honest. Don't tell a homeowner something's, because you don't want to be the one that has to be on the other end of that, where they get denied or they don't get anything out of it and it becomes a black mark on their insurance. So, keep that in mind. But yeah, that's just as a rule of thumb. So
awesome. Well, John, you've given us so much good information. Atlas Pro Contractors, don't forget, every month we'll be running these webinars. So be sure to check out our events page to be sure to log into the next one. John, thanks so much for being on with us.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
And Andrew, I'll send you that email too. So with that,
all right.
So.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good week. And don't forget, live, replay.